Jingle bells, Batman smelt, Robin laid an egg. The Batmobile lost the wheel, and the Joker got away.
Ho, ho, ho! What's up, guys? And welcome back to another episode of Whoops. Ho, ho, ho! What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Geek Culture Talk for this Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday Season. Yes, welcome everyone to the second Geek Culture Talk Christmas theme or holiday theme episode of the show. We haven't done one in a while since, for 5 years now. A 5-year mission it's been to get back to another one of these. We did the last one back in 2020, just talking about just in general some of our favorite like Christmas specials from like a lot of our geek related stuff. Yeah, but this year I had a different idea. I want to talk about, also I updated the set a little bit for the Christmas theme a bit. I got my Spiderman Funko Pop there wearing his Christmas sweater. Got the Grinch Funko Pop over here. We got this comic here of the issue number 5, the final issue of Batman, Santa Claus, Silent Night Returns. And then we also got the statue from Marvel's Spider-Man 2 from the Collector's Edition, because I meant to put in the set in the first episode, forgot, and now it's just here. But, you know, we could always use a bit more of Venom, Miles, and Peter in our lives for holidays, because what's better? And also, we got a themed cup as well, the Grinch, so, yeah. Very nice time of year it is, definitely. But yeah, this year I wanted to do something a little bit different. I want to talk about some comic book related stuff, because, you know, of course, last episode we talked about the Deadpool Batman crossover. And now, because I want to talk about some Christmas related comic books and like compare to, we're going to compare two different Christmas comics for this episode. One from DC, one from Marvel, and to see what they're both like for the Christmas and holiday season and which one is better and everything. So yeah, I grabbed two random ones from my collection. So for the DC entry, we have Batman the Brave and the Bold number 14 here, titled A Holiday Special featuring Ragman. This is of the tie-in comic for the cartoon series. And also we have from inside Marvel Avengers versus Ultron. This is like not... So basically, this is like a little collection book I got from my middle school's book fair back in 2015, which was over 10 years ago, which, holy shit, that's a long time ago. I'm old. Yeah, which is a bunch of random collection of stories, which includes a story related to Christmas. So that's fun. But the actual story inside that book, what it's from, it's a story from a collect anthology comic called, let me pull it up again on Marvel Limited, called Marvel Holiday Special from 2005. So yeah, I think this should be good, glorious fun indeed to see, you know, what this will be like. And, you know, this is something I would like to kind of do a bit more for a future episode of Geek Culture Talk, you know, do some comic comparing of from, you know, different things. So it can be like from both Marvel or both DC or, you know, together, stuff like that. You know, stuff I want to do a little bit more maybe, because I want to do some more comic book episodes, like proper. So yeah, now I'm just rambling on, not sure why. I don't know how to segue into actually starting the episode. But yeah, let's get into it, shall we, and talk about these two wonderful holiday-themed comics. So we'll start off with the Batman the Brave and the Bold comic from, like, it's the tie-in comic to the animated series from years ago. This is, like, back when I was growing up, this is, like, one of the earliest comic series I was collecting. I didn't collect the entire thing. I have, like, just random sporadic issues, including this one right here. So I had to dig it out of my comic box and everything, and I reread it. And I actually forgot what this was about, because, again, it was years ago, and I don't think as a kid I really took in properly what the story was. It's not a Christmas story, it's actually a Hanukkah story, which I was like, oh, okay, even better. We can have like a Christmas and a Hanukkah story. So we're getting all the holidays in for this episode, I guess. But yeah, or in the comic they call it Chanukah, which I had to look up. I was like, what's that about? Apparently, if you're not Jewish, you don't celebrate Hanukkah or Chanukah. Hanukkah and Chanukah are just interchangeable names for the holiday. From the brief, like, little Google I did and read on an article, I did not use AI suggested, because that's almost never right on Google. I used an actual article and read it. from my brief little scan I did, apparently they're both right, but Hanukkah is, of course, the more, like, well-known verse, whereas Chanukah is the more traditional verse. Apparently, Chanukah was the verse that was translated from Hebrew properly, whereas Hanukkah, there was a mistranslation when that was translated back in the 18th century for English. So back then they got like Hanukkah in the English form, but in Hebrew it's supposed to be Chanukah. So this little fun little history lesson for you guys. See, we actually do learn stuff here on this show. It's not just about comic books and the punching, it's about, holidays and history. But you're probably also wondering, who the hell is Ragman exactly? Well, Ragman is a very D-list DC comic book character. He'll probably be in James Gunn's movies at some point. But basically, his origin, which they explain in this book, he says briefly, is that his father used to own this pawn shop, and then he passed it down to his son, which is Rory Regan. And, he also passed down these mystical rags to him that basically hold the souls of the damned in them. And he dons them now as the superhero Ragman to fight against justice, or no, fight for justice, and against the criminals of Gotham City. So, yeah, because he lives in Gotham. So, yeah, if you're a fan of the show Arrow, you also probably remember him from that show. He was in the 5th season of the series, and he was quite cool. It was a lot of fun, and they had to kick him off the show because he was way too powerful compared to the rest of the crew on Team Arrow. So then he was gone, came back for like an episode, I think in season 6 or 7 for a brief cameo. Then they came back for like the final episode of the whole series, which is great. But they could have put him on Legend Tomorrow. Don't know why. Would have been a perfect fit there. Anyways, so yeah, Batman Brave the Bold, issue number 14 was written by Shawlee Fish and drawn by Rick Burchett. Now, I will say, Rick Burchett, he does a great job of capturing the show's art style. I'm not sure if he was one of the people who worked on the show itself, like, properly. I'll put it up here. I probably should have done my research better there. But yeah, I like a lot. Obviously, when it comes to any of these kind of tie-in comics to an animated series based on a superhero, they usually have to get an artist who, like, captures the art style, like the show is, because for crossover, because, some kids are coming in from the show to read this comic, like I was, this is kind of light shade I'm throwing at the Spiderman 94 comic recently. It's 90, no, that's X-Men, it's not Spiderman 94, yeah, that comic where, I don't know what was going on with the art a little bit there. But like the show in tradition, it starts with a little, like, just brief opening, like, team up between Batman and another character before we get into the main event of the episode. For this one, it's Batman teaming up with Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes, Blue Beetle specifically, to take on the awesome trio that is the rainbow-themed supervillains, such as Crazy Quilt, Dr. Spectro, and Rainbow Raider. Now, I know Crazy Quilt, he's an old-school Batman villain. Rainbow Raider is a Flash villain. Dr. Spectro, I don't know who that is, but yeah. And basically their plan is they're going to just turn the snow different colors. That's their master plan. It's very much 50s style kind of planning. Batman takes them all out with one batarang. Blue Beetle gets annoyed at that and is like, hey, come on, man, save some for me next time. And it's like, I'll keep that in mind and everything. So that's all it is. It's really not much. But then you get into the main event of the story where basically Rory's now at his shop, rags and tatters, and he's basically the rabbi of the town, basically, of the little neighborhood. He comes by offering his antique, like, father's watch because he needs money for some repairs for the synagogue and also for the Chanukah celebration tomorrow. But, Rory just gives him some money and doesn't actually take his watch. Like, no, take just the money and just pay me back when you can. That's the kind of guy he was, and they talk about Sam, his father. And he asks him, why haven't you, like, lit your menorah yet? It's almost Chanukah. And he's like, I'm not really a religious person that much. And like, come on. Yeah, I mean, I know when you came to America, your father changed his name to, like, Regan, but, his original name was Reganowitz. Hope I pronounced that right. So you're still Jewish, so you're still, that's your religion. You celebrate Chanukah, so come on. Why aren't you in the spirit now? All that kind of stuff. And then basically a crime's happening outside the street, so he has to suit up as Ragman and take down the foe. And then Batman shows up and commends him on, like, stopping the little petty thief and says, great job at the, and it's like, and Ragman doesn't think that did that great of a job. And he says, well, it isn't always easy fighting for justice, as Batman says, which Ragman gets very annoyed, saying, like, justice, is that what you call it? And the crux of the story basically that Ragman is kind of losing his focus in terms of, like, being a superhero, because he's not sure if he's really making a difference or doing anything really, because basically he tells Batman that, you're the big city folks superhero, you deal with all the super villains and, like, big city-wide destruction kind of plots, whereas I deal with a lot of, like, the minor stuff here right down in the grubs of the city, such as this robbery right here. This guy was trying to steal these empty bottles from this old lady. But basically the reason why she had all these empty bottles because she's so poor that she collects empty bottles and trades them in for cash. So basically, that's what he's doing. And he says how he can do that for her, but he can't really do much else besides that. Like, he can save her the empty bottles so she can trade them in for cash, but how is that really justice? Because she's still, like, having to rummage through the garbage. Like, rummage through the garbage. I'm messing up words so badly right now. She has to rummage through garbage to try and find anything to trade for cash. So, like, what's justice about that at all? And starts telling about how, and, tells him about his origin, his father, how they just would give people money instead of, like, trading and stuff. They never would almost give any, accept people's stuff. Batman tries to tell him, like, it's not always easy fighting crime, and we can't help everyone, but so we do what we can. And he says, sure, that's not the point here, though, Batman. He basically tells him that what good is it to be a superhero when these people really need is just rent money and good food. And then he starts talking about how this place called MacGuffin Group has been, like, buying out places across the neighborhood and, like, forcing people out of their homes and pretty much making it unlivable for, like, the common folk here. They can't afford places to live around here anymore. The only person who could afford to live around here is Bruce Wayne. And then, like, Batman gets a little kind of sad look, like, ooh, that was kind of directed at me and doesn't really know it. It's all that kind of stuff. And then the synagogue starts getting robbed by just two common crooks, so they have to go stop them. And, basically, after they stop him and save the rabbi, Ragman starts to ask the rabbi, like, it's so senseless. Like, doesn't it get to you all this stuff and saying how, like, you could just leave. You don't have to stay here and keep up with all this crap. And he says, I stay because people need me and everything. And, like, basically turns it back around to him and tells him how, like, really I think you're asking me this, but I think really you're wanting to ask that for yourself because you're trying to wonder, should I even stay, keep being Ragman? If there's like, I'm not really doing a lot of good here. I feel like I'm not really making a great difference with all this, just not great stuff going on right now. So the rabbi then tells a story about how Hanukkah was made back in the day, how it happened. How the Greek army invaded Israel and took over the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, but the Jewish Maccabees fought back. The Greeks had thousands more soldiers and much more powerful weapons, yet the Maccabees won. But then at a sacrifice, because then their menorah, which is meant to like stay lit all the time for like good luck and all that stuff, it went out during the battle and they don't have enough oil left because they used a lot of their oil for the battle, so they don't have enough oil left to like light the menorah. So, and they said it'll take about 8 days for more oil to get here, so they only have enough to light, just one candle. But, somehow, miraculously, a miracle, the like little bit of oil they have left somehow managed to light like all of the lights, the candle lights on the menorah, and that lasted for 8 days, which was, the beginning of Hanukkah. And basically the rabbi makes a point saying how, like, look, yeah, God could have, like, given us enough oil for, like, the entirety of the 8 days, or, like, just for longer than that, or could have, like, helped us find even better homes. But, like, the point he's making here with the story is that, although we don't always get what we want, we get what we need, which is the most important thing. Just getting what you need is the most, like, valuable thing you could have. And then Batman checks the cell phone of one of the guys he beat up and found out that apparently MacGuffin Group paid out this guy, hired him to, like, rough up the synagogue to like force the rabbi out, and then realizing that, oh, these guys, MacGuffin Group's been like paying these guys to do that all over town, so now Ragman's kind of pissed, like, all those sons of bitches. And then Batman's like, hang on, Ragman, you stay back. That's, like you said, this is my neck of the woods, like fighting the bigger stuff, so I'll go take them down while you go help out the people here in the synagogue and everything. And yeah, Batman takes him down, and it's like, it's a funny image, I'll just try and get it for the video, where it's like, literally Batman just finds the guy, like, or goes to the office and like holds out a bunch of papers and is like shouting at this guy saying, oh, what's going on here? It's like, it's kind of funny looking. And yeah, it shuts down their whole operation, and now the streets are safe again thanks to Batman and Ragman. And also now Ragman has reinvigorated his spark for fighting crime and protecting people in the streets. And then Batman as Bruce Wayne makes an anonymous donation towards, the rabbi for, the synagogue and also for the Hanukkah celebration and all that stuff. And, he goes back to Rory, pays him back, and tells him how, see, like, God gives us just what we need. We don't always get what we want, but we get what we need, which is the most important thing. Also, he doesn't know that he's Ragman. I made it sound like he did know he was Ragman, but he doesn't actually. But, yeah, again, he's just re-saying that point to Rory. And, yeah, after that whole ordeal with Batman and, like, relearning the lesson about Hanukkah and the history of it, and now Bruce making the anonymous donation. Oh yeah, I don't know that Bruce made the donation, by the way. We just know it is Bruce who did that because we see the shadow of Batman behind the rabbi. And yeah, he finally finds it himself to like relight his menorah and, celebrate Hanukkah once again. And yeah, that's kind of the end of the story. And yeah, I thought it was a really fun, sweet one, really nice. Again, it was a nice surprise rereading this one after like 15 years, maybe. That was actually a Hanukkah story instead, so like that was actually kind of cool. So it's a fun one. I enjoyed this one. But now we move over to the Marvel one. Also, peep my Looney Tune bookmark I have in here. It's not an actual bookmark, just all my bookmarks were being preoccupied because I read a lot. And this is a tag from an old, like, just clothing thing I bought of Looney Tunes recently. So I just need something to put in the book to find the page. Like I said, this was part of an anthology book called the Marvel Holiday Special from 2005. So this one's 20 years ago. Jesus Christ. But like basically it was the second story of the comic, and it was written by Jeff Parker and drawn by Riley Brown. And so basically this one starts with we see a girl working on this like robot, this machine, which turned out to be some robotic Santa Claus. And as she's working on this, we have like dialogue from like her mother and a doctor. The mother was talking to a doctor asking about, oh, will she ever snap out of this? And the doctor basically says, yes, she's exceptional, and that's what concerns me. Extremely gifted children like her often run the risk of impeding their emotional development. Her intellect was already far ahead of her other abilities, now will likely stay that way out of balance. Cognitive dissonance, when core beliefs don't agree, something you hold strongly as a truth conflicts with other facts as you know them. This is what I believe has led to the arrested state she's in now. She holds on to that childlike state for years until something helps her move on. She may even find a way to affect the change herself one day. Which the mother then says she hopes so, and still can't believe that the words of some like just idiot like playmates in school will like affect her this much. Or that such a notion would even like affect her in that kind of way. And the doctor finishes off their conversation by saying, who knows what's going to be crucial to someone, Miss Hanlon? There are stranger needs than the idea of a man in a red costume gliding over the rooftops with a bag of gifts. So basically, you get the idea where this is going a little bit, but I'll leave it to the mystery still to get to the end of the book here. So yeah, but basically like, you know, her belief system is kind of in whack right now, and also her whole super intelligence, like the true basic facts are, you know, in conflict with what she wants to believe, so it's a whole thing right now. So yeah. But then Spider-Man, we see him swinging across New York in a Spider-Man in a Santa Claus hat, which is fun. And he's talking about how like he's late to the Avengers, you know, annual Christmas party because he went to Avengers Tower, assuming that's where it was. It's actually at Doctor Strange's house instead. So yeah, he gets there. MJ is probably gonna be pissed at him, and gets there and finds people are kind of like, you know, not for real. They're flirting with her in a joking manner, and also like, you know, jokingly talk about how like, oh, you should ditch the sap Peter Parker and everything. And he's like, okay, yes, she's been doing okay and everything. So yeah, we have the guests in attendance at this party. We have, of course, Doctor Strange and Wong. We got Spider-Man, Captain America, Iron Man, Wolverine, MJ, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Hank Pym as Yellow Jacket, Wasp, Iron Fist, Black Panther, and I think that was it. Oh yeah, we do have, Jarvis is also here. Edwin Jarvis in human form before the MCU, you know, made it more popular. He'd be an AI. But we also have a lesser-known character named Gravity, who I've never heard of. He is desperately trying. There's a little running gag. It doesn't run for the entire story, but he's trying to like get into the party because he was apparently invited. And every time he comes to the door and talks about, hey, I'm supposed to be at this party, you know, I was invited, and then everyone keeps slamming the door in his face and all that stuff, you know. And, you know, it's a bit of fun, you know, we see them, like, you know, do the silly stuff here, like Evan Jarvis, like, he's trying to, you know, clean up the place, but Strange is like, nonsense, Jarvis, you don't need to clean, like, you're my guest. And also I think he says something about how the house will probably clean itself because it's magic. You'll see Doctor Strange using magic spells to conjure up a tree, which is actually a living creature that tries biting the wasp, and a few of them a couple times. Spider-Man has to, like, web it shut, which is part of the decoration of the house, so that's kind of funny. Oh yeah, Wonder Man's also here, and Spider-Woman, and Aunt May, so a lot of people were here. And She-Hulk, I keep forgetting people as I'm looking through this. But yeah, now we see the girl has her robot Santa ready to go, and basically, she's instructing the Santa to, like, go across New York and just be Santa Claus, you know, like, give people the idea of give people the idea that Santa Claus does exist and he's real, like, give that inspiration for children. But then that goes horribly awry, as it does, because the robots, for some reason now, has different protocols, and he goes out to destroy the Avengers, which he's like, what? Why are you going to destroy the Avengers? You don't destroy the Avengers, what? And so that's going on. And then we get into the weirdest running gag of this story. So it starts with basically Tony Stark catches Spider-Woman underneath the mistletoe, so they got a kiss, and she's like, oh, okay. So that happens, you know, they slam the door on Gravity again. But then we cut back to another time around where now Captain America with Spider-Woman, finds the mistletoe underneath them now, or they're underneath it now, in a different location. She's like, did this move? And now she has to kiss Cap, and I think a more favorable kiss, maybe. It kind of looks like that. I'm not really sure, because I mean, I guess she's like, Captain America, he's better looking than Tony, I don't know. And then finally there's a final one where Wolverine's now with her underneath it in a different location again, and she's like, what the hell's going on, man? Is this actually moving? And then we find that Yellow Jacket, Iron Man are controlling it on a little device, and it's like moving around the ceiling. And they basically explained to her that they didn't have enough, like she finds out, and they didn't have enough mistletoe to decorate the whole place, so they decided to stretch it around by moving it around like that. And Spider-Man takes it as gentle as it possibly could by just blasting the both of them right at the wall. And yeah, and Wolverine's also annoyed because he's like, oh, you guys couldn't let the secret be kept in a little bit longer, at least till I got my kiss action. It's a weird joke. So I was like, because I watched the video briefly while I was reading this, just to get an idea of like what's some of the voices of Spider-Woman, because I like to read these comics with like the voices of characters in my head. So I was trying to get some ideas of what some of Spider-Woman's voices have been. And I found an audio thing from Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1, where apparently she at one point had a pheromone thing that makes men like just be uncontrollable around her and like just lust for her, which I don't think is a thing here though. They never addressed that. She never mentioned that being a thing. I guess it's not a thing at this point now. I'm not really sure. But it's very weird. I mean, first off, like I've never heard of a person like at a party like needing like multiple, mistletoes to decorate the place. Like you normally it's literally just one mistletoe. Like doesn't defeat the whole purpose. Like the idea is having one mistletoe so that occasionally someone may get caught underneath it with someone and they kiss, or get poisoned if you follow Catwoman's laws, which is, true. But like, why? Like, I've never heard like having multiple of them. It's like that's just constant kissing. Like that's a weird thing. So it's a weird. It's weird. That's what it is. And like, look, Iron Man, Wolverine, and Yellow Jacket all being in on this, not surprising. But Captain America being in on it is strange. Like I don't understand why he's part of it. But I mean, it's definitely not the first weirdest thing the Avengers have done in a story before. Don't look up Avengers issue number 200, kids. You won't like what's in Avengers issue number 200. Just don't. They finally let Gravity in because he's like, oh, I guess I'm not getting in. But then Luke Cage sees him outside and he's like, oh man, you finally made it. He invited him, I guess. I'm not really sure where he knows him from. So it's like, okay. And then, Santa Claus attacks them and everything. And like, look, obviously, yeah, you figure out who is controlling the Santa Claus because the book is called Marvel Avengers versus Ultron. So it's Ultron. He's hijacked the robot to attack the Avengers, and like, he's letting off a supersonic frequency that hurts all the Avengers except Gravity. I was rereading this and going like, is it gonna be a thing where Gravity's like gonna be the ultimate hero? He's not. He does help out though. So it's like, okay. And they managed to defeat the Ultron robot and save the day and whatnot by using the same device that they were using on the mistletoe thing, where they used it to like, reverse engineered it to like destroy Ultron, so la-da-da-da. And then they access the Ultron robot's head to figure out what happened here, why did they attack us, and they find, that the robot was created by this girl here, her name is Hanlon, Virgie Hanlon is her name, and they basically see how, Christmas was a very important time of year for her, very special, until, of course, as we said, some playmates told her at school something that bothered her, which is that Santa Claus is not real, which really affected her like to a massive degree to the point where apparently for a long time she didn't talk to anyone, and she eventually became functional again but still kept out of like society at large for the most part. Spider-Woman talks about how she's been protecting herself from contrary ideas ever since a classic defense mechanism, so that's what's happening here. And they basically figure out why this Ultron took control of a robot. It's because from a previous battle that the Avengers have Ultron transfers mind to one of his many bodies, and it was already a destroyed kind of body. So he managed to find Virgie and kind of like manipulate her using something that they call encephalo overrider to control Virgie's psyche. Of course, her brain was fragmented, you could say, and managed to work in its own agenda along with Ultron's. I'm not really sure how he does that, but pretty much once this Ultron robot came to her and saw a robot and was like, oh, it locked an idea in her brain to like fix the wrongs about being told Santa Claus is not real, but at the same time also Ultron was working his devious, schemes behind the scenes as well. It's kind of like in Transformers: Age of Extinction, how they thought they were creating better Transformers with like the remains of the Decepticons, but they were using Megatron's bodies. Of course, Megatron's mind was working behind the scenes because they're idiots. So they all decide to find her. They go to her home and basically have a Christmas party there and tell her how, like, nobody should be alone on Christmas, Like, it's not your fault what happened and everything. Like, we don't blame you at all. It was Ultron. That guy, he's annoying. We don't blame you for what happened. And Captain America basically tells her that, Virgie, this is a skeptical age. People don't believe in things they can't comprehend. But to say there's no Santa Claus, you might as well say there are no heroes. Some among us inspire childlike faith and wonder. They become more than people or even legends. They become ideals. Ideals are bigger than any person, and we need them. They speak to what's best in us. Now, there's a veil covering the unseen world, which is not even the united strength of the strongest that ever lived can tear apart. Only faith, fancy, poetry, love, romance can push aside that curtain and picture the beauty and glory beyond. Is it all real? There's nothing more real or lasting. So yes, Virginia, as sure as generosity and devotion exists to give joy, there is Santa Claus. And then Wolverine starts crying. He's like, God damn, that's such a beautiful speech. He knows how to do that stuff. And yeah, pretty much he tells her that, like, maybe like the actual Santa Claus does not exist, although the Marvel Universe he does. He's an actual person who's an Omega level mutant. He's about as powerful as Professor X or Apocalypse. Fun little fact. And then in the DC Universe, he's also a real person who is apparently at least as of the current continuity, he's a Norse god who like taught Batman. Like Batman met him in his travels when he was first learning to become Batman. The theory goes that he probably either taught Batman how to like vanish without being detected, or like how he keeps so many stuff in his utility belt, which is like not that small. Which, I like that idea more. That's actually a funny idea of how does Batman carry all that stuff? Like, I was just playing through some Arkham Origins recently, and he was having to get a part for something, and it's this massive device, and he just shoves it behind him. It's like, where did that go? It's never on your person. But yeah, of course, obviously, Santa Claus exists in the Marvel Universe, but in the context here, they're saying, okay, Santa Claus may not be real, but the idea of Santa Claus is the ideal of him, the same as how our ideals are real and exist. So, like, that's what matters most. We inspire ideals and ideas just like he does, so he's as real as us. So that's what he's getting at here. So, yeah, it's a nice little cute story here of just like, good Christmas fun that I also quite enjoyed. So, of the two stories here, which would I say is the better one? So, here's what I'll say. So the pros and cons, I guess, of both of them, or not pros and cons. I think they're both equally good, I will say. So first off, with the Batman Brave and the Bold one. So this one is rated E for everyone, which is I don't think it's normally the rating system you give a comic. That's usually a game thing, but whatever. It's obviously this is a more younger kid style comic, so it's not meant to be super like deep and big. There's not a lot of like action in the book really. It's pretty light on it, I would say. And, and the opening of, like, Blue Beetle, I kind of wish there was a little bit more of that. Like, why not? Because usually the show always has, like, a good opening with, like, another superhero before the main thing. And, I can't remember if a lot of these Brave and Bold comics were, like, quick with those opening, like, segments before they get into the main one. I can't recall. I should probably read more of them, maybe, again. But, it was still fun. And this one, again, some of the cons, I guess I can give it. Well, first off, I guess this one's more for teen, like, or maybe it's like, I don't know, it could be also E for everyone or teen rated, because, it's probably E for everyone, imagine, if it's like just a general holiday special comic. But also, I guess, the cons, some of it has, again, that weird joke with the mistletoe is very strange. I don't get it. I just realized also, I didn't actually say, like, what I thought of the art of the book for the event, the Marvel one. Riley Brown's art is quite solid. It's good fun. Everyone, looks pretty good in the book. Everyone's drawn well. I guess, like, they wanted someone who can draw, like, Santa Claus really well, and he draws Santa Claus quite good. And the reindeer look good. Everyone looks pretty good on model. I guess I would say some faces look kind of strange, I would say sometimes, or, like, not the greatest. Like whenever Captain America is not wearing his mask, I will say it looks kind of weird a little bit, I would say. For the most part, everyone does look pretty good. Like, again, it's meant to be kind of like, I guess, a simple, quick story they were, working on. So they just need someone like who can do some good stuff in a quick manner of time, maybe. I'm not really sure. And, he does it pretty well, I'd say. I think the art in the book is good. But the pros both books have is that they both tell like good messages here about both their holidays. So for the Marvel one, of course, the message about how, like, you know, just because something may not be real doesn't mean that the ideal and like what it represents can't be real. Like, yeah, Santa Claus, of course, is for all the kids who somehow find this video, I will reinstate that Santa Claus is real. He is real, but for the context of me talking right now, we're going to say that he isn't real for my point to make sense. But if you are a child watching this, he is real. Santa may not be real, but of course the idealism of what he is real. Like, he brings joy. He represents like just like innocence and fun and like good times and like and for like family and like getting togetherness. Like, you know, Christmas is all about like being together with like friends and family, people you care about. That's the main important thing. Of course, obviously Santa, like, he brings you gifts and everything, but like the main thing is, like, you know, it represents like special time of year where, like, you know, just like you can just relax, chill out, have some good times, good food, good people with like people you want to have in your lives and care about. So like that's the good message there. Like, obviously, of course, just because maybe the person itself that these stories are based around may not be exist, but the story's like idealism, that's important. Whereas then with the Batman one, it's about how, you know, just because you may think you're not doing your best or the most, like, obviously, of course, like, it's hard to like always like try to like help everyone, like make sure everyone's like having like their life is going well, doing great. Obviously, see with like people like that old lady, she's poor, she's suffering a little bit, she has to like try and make money the best she can. But like eventually good does come your way is the point they're kind of making. How basically, yeah, sure, God kind of like won't give you exactly what you need. Like, sure, you can maybe need like you can need like an amazing house or something, or like maybe so much money to like live well, which, like, sure, that'd be great. But the message he's making here is that, you know, just because he doesn't give you that, he still gives you what you need. And at the end of the day, what you need in the here and now, that's the most important thing. Like, yeah, stuff far off in the future of getting a nice house, that's great. But that what you need right now is just like, you know, maybe a job or like good food or like just, you know, some good medical help. Like, just the stuff you need immediately right now, that's the most important thing right there. So, yeah, both stories give good messages about, you know, the holidays. And also both are different, actually, holidays are about different, you know, times of the year. Like, one's about Christmas, one's about Hanukkah, which I think is really great. That's actually just really nice that I somehow picked a Hanukkah story. So, yeah, we can put this up there. Is this going to be up there now, 8 Crazy Nights? Who knows? I don't know. I don't actually know a lot of Hanukkah-related specials. All I know about is the 8 Crazy Nights, which is a fascinating movie. If you're Jewish watching this, actually tell me, what are some good like Hanukkah specials actually you guys watch? Any specific ones? I would actually love to know, like, what are some ones you guys do watch out there? It'd be really fascinating to know. But yeah, I love that somehow I managed to get both a Christmas story and a Hanukkah story. That's awesome. So yeah. So I think I'm trying to decide which story is better. I think for me, of rereading these, and I've not read either of these in years. The Avengers one about 10 years. This one, the Batman one, about like 15 years at least. As of which one I like the more, I think I like the Batman one more, just because, like, I'd forgotten it was a Hanukkah related story, so that was like a nice surprise, and also just being like, you know, I can see this maybe not being an episode of the show itself. Like, it makes sense as a comic, I guess, because I think kids, you know, the show was a big action kind of show, you know, more so than like Batman animated series was more like heavy story driven show. Brave and the Bold was more like action heavy, so I feel like, you know, they would probably not actually accept this as an episode of the show because they would probably want more punching and action. So it makes sense to do as a comic storyline. But yeah, I think it's really sweet, you know, like it gives Batman a new perspective on the other side of Gotham that he's never really seen before. Highlights a really cool and really fascinating, like, lesser known DC Comics character that, you know, the Brave and the Bold, you know, show and comics were always great at for, you know, younger fans like me. And yeah, a lot of good messaging in this one. And again, it was cool that it was about Hanukkah, so I dug that. So I think for me, this one is the better of the two. I mean, they're both great. These are both excellent stories. I do recommend checking them out both. You can find the one here on Marvel Unlimited or like buy digitally. I don't know where you can find this one. I assume you can probably find it like digitally, buy it somewhere, like on DC Infinite, probably. I assume. Not really sure, but yeah. That's it for this Chris episode of Geek Culture Talk. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Tell me, of the two stories we talked about here today, which one did you like the most? Did you like the Batman one more or the Marvel one more? I'm very curious to know. And yeah, tell me, if you're a comic reader, like, what are some good, like, holiday comics you've read over the years? Like, what are some good ones? There's a lot of good ones out there. Again, these Batman and Silent Night comics, they're both pretty good ones. You know, a lot of great Marvel and DC Christmas ones over the years. I'm sure there's, like, a lot of great comics as well from other companies that have had, like, holiday special stuff. Like, I don't know, has there been a Spawn Christmas comic? Because, like, what does that one look like? That'd be insane, actually. Like, what are some other good, like, holiday specials you watch every year? Again, like, I would love to know if any of you do celebrate Hanukkah or Chanukah, which way do you actually call it? What are some good specials you watch every year? Like, what are some fun ones you watch? And also, if you celebrate Christmas, you know, what are some good Christmas specials you watch every year? My favorite to watch every year is The Grinch. It's a classic for me. So is Elf. I love that one as well. Rudolph. A couple of good ones. The Santa Claus 2. Bunch of good ones I like. Or what are some other, like, if you celebrate some other holiday during this time of the year, what, like, Kwanzaa, I don't know, what's that one I'm trying to think? I can't, actually, okay, I actually don't know any other ones besides Kwanzaa. Do you celebrate Life Day? I mean, are you a Wookiee celebrating Life Day? What do you watch? Do you actually watch the Star Wars Holiday Special, or do you even agree that, nah, that's a little too much even for us? Go watch my full reaction to the Holiday Special, by the way. I made that a few years ago. God damn, that was a rough one. Yeah, there's the full reaction and the highlight reaction, so, yeah. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for the final video for Christmas this year, coming out in 2 weeks, so that'll be the final video of the year and our final holiday video. So, yeah, thank you all for watching. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Enjoy time with good friends and family and good food, and, you know, give people some great gifts and get some great gifts, you know. But, of course, most importantly, have good times with family and friends. So, yeah. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys all later. Goodbye, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Hey, it's Yuri Lowenthal here. You might know me from this Marvel Spider-Man games or other places as well. You're tuned in to 100 Bomb Studios. Hit like and subscribe, but only if you like really, really nerdy stuff. Because that's why I'm here.